In today's video, I'll be discussing what subsurface scattering is and how we can use it to color our skin inside Daz Studio for our figures. This tutorial is going to be very technical, but I'll do my best to explain it in simple terms as best as I can. I highly suggest you have some paper in front of you so you can write some notes down because it does get a little bit complicated. And I highly recommend that you try this out when you finish the tutorial so you can lock in that information, lock in subsurface scattering so you can understand it when you've finished with this tutorial. So the first thing I want to do is explain subsurface scattering. Subsurface scattering is basically how light goes into our skin, the way it reacts inside the volume of our skin and then comes back out. So when we look at it, this is the color that we see of the skin. And subsurface scattering inside iRay is trying to replicate that. That's what we're going to try and do. So a very quick image here. I'm going to show you, this is what subsurface scattering is. This is a picture of a dog's ear. And as you can see, the light's coming here from the back. It's hitting our ear here, the ear. So sometimes when you look at somebody and there's light coming from behind them, you can see the light going through the ear, the thin parts of our ear, and you can see all the blood and all the vessels inside here. And that's what subsurface scattering is. The light's going through, hitting this volume, the very thin part here. Now it's scattering everywhere the light, and then some of it's being sent back in all sorts of crazy directions, and then we get to see this wonderful effect here. So that's what subsurface scattering is. Very powerful, and that's what we're trying to replicate using the iRay render engine. I'm just going to talk you through my setup here. So what I've got here, I've got my Genesis 8 male character, the basic male character. So with the basic textures, whatever that comes with the Daz Studio, so everybody can do this. Obviously, if you use a HD character, it's going to look absolutely amazing when you learn this skill and how to use subsurface scattering. It's going to look amazing. Trust me, it's going to look amazing. I've done some tests on them, and the amount of color variance you can get and color skin tone and the amount of richness in the color is absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to show you how great it looks on a Genesis 8 basic character with the basic skin textures. So what I've got here, I've got basically just one camera here. I've got a light here at the background, and I'm going to show you the reason for that light to explain some terms. So that's what that light's there at the back. Obviously, you want to normally have a light, and we have our dome settings here, our environment. I've just increased the intensity to 2 just to give a bit more light to our character. But apart from that, you can have this setup as well, and you can try the same things, and it will do the exact same thing for you. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do, select my character, Genesis 8 male in the C tab, go to the surfaces. And I want to select Genesis 8 male here, editor mode, Genesis 8 male, and I want to select the skin. Now as part of the skin, I'm also going to select the lips, so keep control pressed and click on lips. There we go. The reason why I don't select skin, lips and nails, because I don't want to change the nails, the fingernails or the toenails. If you want to change it, then by all means select skin, lips and nails. So when it comes to subsurface scattering, there are a few parameters in the iRay shader that control everything regarding subsurface scattering. So as we go down here, you can see the translucency color. I will come to that later on. You can see the SSS reflectors tint, which I've covered in another tutorial, but I'm going to cover in this tutorial as well. So if you're new, don't be too fazed by all these options. We're not going to go through all of them. We're just going to go through a particular set of parameters. So let me just scroll down to the parameters we are interested in. Alright. So the parameters we are interested in are these ones here. So transmitted measurement distance, transmitted color, SSS mode, scattering measurement distance, SSS amount, and SSS direction. So the first thing I want to do, I want to show you what happens when we don't have subsurface scattering turned on. This is what it looks like if we never had subsurface scattering. So I'll just turn on thin walled here, and then I'm going to go to my SSS tint. Reflectance tint. I'm going to turn that to black so we don't have any, and this is what it would look like. So without subsurface scattering, this is what our characters would look like. This is what objects inside a Daz Studio would look like. So this is why we need SSS. As you can see, it looks like a translucent material, almost like a waxy material such as wax or candles. And we don't really want that for skin. We're not going to get realistic skin. So you can see this is why we have SSS. Otherwise, it would look like this. So let me just turn everything back on. So I'm going to turn back on the SSS reflectors tint. I'm going to turn back on the thin wall. I'm going to turn the thin wall back to off. Okay, so our character is back to normal. So the first parameters we're going to discuss are the transmitted measurement distance and the transmitted color. These two work hand in hand. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my environment mode. I'm just going to go to scene only, and I want to show you what is going on here. So I've got my backlight here. Here's my backlight, and this is going to show me the transmitted measurement distance and the transmitted color. So as you can see at the moment, this is not very good. What we want really is we don't want any transmitted color going into the main body of the skin, the thick parts of the skin. We only want the transmitted color going through the thin parts of the skin, which is the ears here. Okay, we only want this happening. So we need to actually correct this. So when Daz Studio created this Genesis 8 male character, this basic character, they didn't do a very good job with the settings for iRay. So shame on you, Daz Studio, for not doing a good job for that. For Daz 3D programmers, you didn't do a good job, and we're going to fix that right now. So this basically, the way this works is the higher the transmitted measurement distance, the more the transmitted color will go into the volume of the body. So you can see, if I just turn this camera around here, you can see that it's going through the ear and it's going through the thick parts of the body, which is the chest here, and obviously it's going to go to the stomach and everything. And that's where our organs are. So generally, when you shine a light through our skin, you don't see that because it's too thick. It should only be going through the thin part. So we're going to correct that now. So the transmitted measurement distance is, you want to start with, you want very low values. You want values between 0.1 and 2. You don't really want to go any higher than that unless necessary. So 10 is way high. So I don't know why the programmers did that when they actually did this program, why they actually set this as 10. It should be a lower value. So I'm going to start off with something like 0.1. Okay. Now, as you can see, I've done the transmitted measurement distance to 0.1 and it's still coming through the body. And what we need to do, the transmitted color, this is the colors, so red, green, blue. Now, red is set to 1, which is set to, if I click here, which is set to 255. We don't want it set to 255. We want to have it less than 255. So the red, the transmitted color of the red will be absorbed into the skin. Okay, so it's not going through the skin, it's being absorbed. So something like 253 is fine, and you'll see it's starting to change, and there you go. So now what's happening is at the transmitted measurement distance of 0.1, it's the transmitted color is going through the ear here, but it's not going through the thick parts of the body anymore because the transmitted measurement distance is so small that by the time it gets to the body, the volume of the body here, it's being absorbed. Okay, it's not going through the skin anymore. It's just as soon as it gets to the body, it's being absorbed. It's not going anywhere, and it's not going out. So that's why we have this. So this is exactly what we want. We want our characters to have this thin parts of the ear light up in red. So this is an excellent start to begin with. So obviously the transmitted color is normally going to be the skin, the color of your skin. So it'll be the color of the blood inside. So it should be some sort of like pinky reddy color, because that's the way it looks like when you shine a light through the back of your ears. It's like almost like a pinky reddy color. So you can play with these values if you want to. I'm not going to, but we could play with these values. We could say, hey, actually I want some more green, so 200, and I want some more blue, and now it's more pinky, and then you can see the color changes a bit more here. So when I go to my dome and scene, you'll see that it's a bit red here, which is exactly what we want. A little bit of red coming through. Okay, cool. Okay, so I hope that's explained transmitted measurement distance. If I actually go back to the scene only mode very quickly, and then if I boosted up the transmitted measurement distance, say to 1, you'll see that it's starting to go through now. So at the distance of 1, we're starting to see more come through the skin here. Okay, very, very small areas. So to counteract that, we can always reduce the red here if you want to. And then now it's going through the ears a bit more. So that's how you do transmitted measurement distance. We're going to change this value a bit while we sort out the skin tone. So I'm going to leave it as 1 for now. So let's look at the SSS mode now. We're going to look at the SSS mode, the mono mode. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the SSS direction. So I'm going to go to the scene only mode. And I just want to turn my camera around so we can see that. Okay, so with the SSS direction, we have positive and negative values. So when we use positive values, I'm going to show you, if you look very carefully at the skin here, you can see what happens when I go to a very extreme positive value of 1. So I'm going to go to 1 here. And you see that the skin comes very pale, and you can see on this side that it's gone very red here. And the reason why that is because the subsurface scattering is absorbed by the volume of the skin. So inside the volume of the skin, the subsurface scattering is being absorbed. It's not going anywhere, it's just going, so the light, because the light's going through from the right to the left, it's going through and it's being absorbed, and therefore the skin tone here is very pale. Okay, so when I start to decrease this SSS direction, bring it down to 0 and then negative value, you'll see the skin tone warm up. So if I do like 0.5, you see the skin tone changing now. It's very subtle, but you can see it's more like a pale color now. I'm going to go to 0 now, and now it's a bit more. So you can see if I move the camera around, it's not being absorbed now. It's scattering everywhere. The subsurface scattering is scattering everywhere inside our body, our volume of body here. And if I go to negative values, which is the ideal setting for skin, it's actually negative values, believe it or not, you're going to see that the skin will change even more. So if I go very extreme, you'll see that the tone changes even more here. So it's even more pinky, even more, a bit more reddish here. You can see a lot more tone changing here. So obviously you don't want a -1 SSS direction. You want minus something. So you can choose, you can play with the value you want, but the tone, the SSS direction really should be negative for skin, or there or thereabouts, or 0. But you don't really want to go to 1 like this, because it's very pale. So I normally choose something like -0.3 or 0.5. You can play around with that setting, but generally you want minus for your SSS direction there. So let's go to our dome and scene now. Cool. Okay, so that's SSS direction. Generally you want a negative value for your skin, because you want the light to go into the volume of skin, scatter around, and then come back out, hit the skin, and give us that tone, our skin tone of the transmitted color here. Okay, so we look at the SSS amount. SSS amount is very straightforward to answer. Obviously, if we have 0 SSS amount, we don't have any subsurface scattering. So we have no subsurface scattering. If I go back to my scene only, you can see there is no scattering of anything. It's gone pale again here at the back, and it's being absorbed. So the light's going through the transmitted color, the transmitted light is going through, and there's no scattering, it's just being absorbed. Nothing's happening. So it's just staying there in the skin and not doing anything. So when we go to our dome and scene, you can see the skin is very pale. The subsurface scattering is not doing anything. As we start to increase this, 0.3, you can see the colors coming back more. We go to 1, and you can see the colors coming into it more. So that's what SSS amount is. The more you have, the more scattering you have. You don't really need high values, 1 is enough. So the next parameter we're going to look at is scattering measurement distance, which is a bit more complicated to explain, but I will do my best. So the scattering measurement distance is the distance the light needs to reach the subsurface scattering amount. So at the moment, the subsurface scattering, the scattering measurement distance, is 0.75. When I start to decrease this, you'll see that things start to change. So 0.1, let's say. And you see that because the scattering measurement distance is being reached earlier, we are seeing more scattering here going on in the skin. You can see here the tones change as well, it's a bit more. So because the light is reaching the scattering measurement distance quicker, our tone skin is being changed. So the SSS amount is taking effect a lot earlier, which is changing our skin tone. So when we go to our dome and scene, you'll see that it's starting to look a little bit more different. These are very subtle changes, mind you. So we can tell actually from the ears here. We can see from the ears, when I decrease the scattering measurement distance, that has changed. So what I need to do is actually increase that. I want more scattering to happen inside the ear here. So I'm going to increase the transmitted measurement distance to 1.5. And I'm going to increase the scattering measurement distance to 0.5. And there we go. So you can see now the transmitted measurement distance is increased. The scattering measurement distance is 0.5. And that's when the SSS amount is going to kick in. That's when the SSS amount is kicking in here, as you can see. And this will affect the tone of our skin. So you can see the skin here, it's a bit more reddish here. Go to scene only. Bit more reddish here. It's very subtle changes. It's very subtle to see, obviously. Subsurface scattering is a very subtle change. So let me just go back to Dolman Scene. There we go. So that's how we would initially set up our character, our figure, using the SSS mono mode. With the mono mode, we can't really change the skin, we can't really change the subsurface scattering that's happening inside our volleyball body. And that's where the chromatic comes in. And a lot of the newer figures use chromatic because I think it's a very powerful feature. It's a bit more difficult to understand, but once you understand how it works, there are so many variations of skin tone you can do. It's absolutely crazy, and it's so easy to do once you understand it. So this is our character. We set it up the skin we wanted to. It's looking pretty good. So we can go back up now and we can say, okay, now I can use the SSS reflectance tint now to kind of add more color tone to this skin. So for example, you don't want values that are too high. You don't want 255 values. You want it just slightly low here, and we want to choose, so I want it a bit more yellowish. Okay, and now it's a bit more yellowish, a bit more yellowish tone here. So every time I'm always checking the scene only to make sure I've got this subsurface scattering happening in the ears. You always want some form of that happening, and make sure it's not too bright as well. I definitely want some form of that happening in the ear. Okay. So that's looking better now. It's got more tone. Again, we can say, hey, actually, I want a bit more bluish tone. Oops, that's too much. A bit more bluish tone, really lower down. There we go. So it's a bit more different tone of skin here. So that's how you would do with the mono SSS mono mode to change the tone. It's very straightforward to understand the mono mode, and there's a lot you can do with that. So that's how you would use the mono mode as subsurface scattering. So now let's have a look at the chromatic SSS mode. So just scrolling down here in the array services, array shader, sorry. And let's go here to the SSS mode, turn it to chromatic. So you see straight away that we now have a new option called SSS color, and now we can change the SSS color underneath the skin of the actual transmitted color, so to speak. So I'm going to choose a color that is a bit more pinkish color, something like this. Click OK. Cool, and there you go. So we still got our translucency happening in the ears there. Go back to Dolman Scene, and we've got an SSS color as well now, so we can actually focus on the SSS color. Now the SSS color can make very unique tonal differences, and I'm going to show that right now. So for example, let's say for this character, for this figure, we wanted more darker skin. So there's two ways we can achieve this. The first way is to say, I'm going to change the translucency color to a darker tone. So let's say if I wanted more brown skin or something like that. So I'm just going to bring this down to something that looks relatively brown like that. Click OK. Alright, so now our tone is a bit more brown here. And our reflectance tint, we can say, I want it to be a bit more, oops, that's too much. Sorry, I want it to be a bit more darker, so I'm going to bring this tint down. There we go. Now we've got darker skin, more brown skin here. So I'm going to go down now to the SSS color here. This is where it makes a unique difference. So we've got our values here, RGB, red, green, and blue. So the way it works, SSS color is, if we say to the SSS color, if I have a low value, say for example 10, it's saying absorb 10, absorb the red, but leave the green and the blue as it is. So absorb the red, but leave green and blue, and you'll see the tone of this skin change. So click OK, and the tone of this skin's changed. Now it's very subtle. You won't see it that easily. So let me just go actually to the scene only and see that I've lost my translucency there because the red's being absorbed. And what I want to do is I'm going to change that now. So let's say, hey, keep the red, but absorb the green. Okay, there you go. It's a very subtle change. the colors change to a different tone. You probably can't see that much. I guarantee you it has changed. It's very subtle change, but when we do the fantasy skins, which we're going to do very shortly, you will see how much of a difference it really makes. So that's what SSS color does. That's the way it kind of works. Is you telling the SSS color channel saying, hey, this one now I'm going to say keep red and green and remove blue. So I want you to absorb the blue. So any blue coming in, I want you to absorb it. All right. And again, it's a very subtle change. And the reason why it's a very subtle change is because probably these values are not high enough. So let me just turn these values up. Right. So now when I say I want you to absorb the green, you'll see it should change now. So there you go. Different tone of brown here, different tone of skin color here as well. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Palmy, nothing's changed. But I guarantee you, when you do this on your computer, you'll see the changes. When you do the renders, you'll see the changes. So I'm going to show you the changes right now. So let's go and actually do fantasy skin colors. I'll show you how to do that right now. And you'll see the change. You'll understand the change when I do this. So let's say we want a fantasy skin color. Let me just turn this SSS reflectance tint back to something normal-ish. So, all right, fantasy color. All right, my translucency color, I'm going to change it to, I don't know, green. Let's say like the Hulk. So I'm going to pick something that's greenish. Can I just move this up? Again, I don't want the value to be all the way up here where it has 255 green. I just want it to be slightly lower. Okay, so let's say something like this is fine. Okay, now it's all green. Great. Now I'm going to go to my SSS reflectance tint. I'm going to change the tint of that. So maybe a bit more yellowy kind of tint on that. All right, so it's a bit more yellowy, greeny color. Now let's go down to our SSS now. And this is where we get to see the difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually check the translucency of the ears because I can't see it. So let me go and check that. All right, it's very, very subtle. So let me just increase the scattering measurement distance. 0.5. Let's actually... Well, we can see it. There it is. Okay, cool. I was going to do 1.5 actually because I wanted more. I might do 0.75 actually so we can see some more. Yeah, I put this to 1.25 is the transmitted measurement distance. That's good. All right, so we've got some here. Translucency was exactly what I wanted. Dome and seed. All right, you can see the colors changed as well because we've got the correct translucency now as well. So this is where we can change the SSS color and you'll see the difference. So here the green's being absorbed. So I'll say don't absorb the green, actually absorb the blue. So absorb the blue inside this. And you can see it's changed now. So you can see the tone of the green changed now. This is why you couldn't see it with the other colors. It's very, very different. But with green, it's such a prominent color that you can see the difference. So the problem here is that our actual scattering measurement distance is far too high. So I need to reduce that to something smaller. Because you can see the translucency is far too much there. It's actually too big. So I'm going to go 0.08. Just to reset. I'm going to put the scattering measurement distance down as well to 1. And that's still too high. 0.05. There we go. All right. Very subtle. That's what I want. All right. Cool. So there's our color now. So let's say if I went to my SSS color now and said, absorb the red and the blue, but leave the green. And it's going to be obviously very green. Here we can say absorb the green and the blue, but leave the red. All right, I don't have to have 200. I could have 235 if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not full, as long as it's not 255, then it doesn't matter. So make sure it's less than 255. So even 240 we could have. Okay. And you can see it's changed the tone. It's very subtle changes in the tone of the skin, but they do make a difference. And again, you'll probably notice that we may have lost some of the translucency there. So I'll need to change the transmitted measurement, the scattering measurement distance to adjust that. So it'll probably be something like, let's try 0.1 so we can get a bit back there. Probably need a bit more, 0.25, 0.3, 0.75. There we go. All right. So it's very easy to adjust once you understand how to do this. Just want a bit of green in there actually. There we go. And there we go. And there's our color there. Looking really good. So we can still use the SSS reflectance tint to change it even further if you wish to. So I wanted a bit more of a bluey tint to this. And there we go. So you can see now we've got a lot of wide range of color. So we've got this kind of like very green, but it's also blue going on with the SSS reflectance tint. And again, I think we've lost a bit of our transition. No, we're okay on that. Okay. Let's go back to our dome and scene. So you can see you can get very complicated if you want to, but I'm not trying to make it too complicated where there's only a few parameters, for example, you need to change, especially chromatic. Chromatic gives you such a color variation. It's absolutely crazy. So here again, we could say absorb the red, but don't absorb the blue. So give me blue. Absorb the red and the green, but give me the blue. And you can get even more different tone variation as well. So you can see it looks even more different color tone here. That's probably too strong actually. 200. And give me green as well. Alright, there we go. Different tone. SSS colors give us different tone here. Obviously it's too high, I was scattering there. So we just bring that down. 0.1. May need to be a bit more than that. Just check that. Yeah, that'll do. So there you go, the color variation. Let's say, for example, hey, I wanted blue because I wanted like the Kree from Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So there's blue. And my reflectance tint, I'm going to say I want very, very small values again. So something like here. Oh, what if I wanted darker? Okay, I wanted darker skin. So my reflectance tint is just going to come down. It's going to come down like this. And now I've got darker blue. Okay, excellent. So I'm coming down and I'm just going to check my translucency, make sure it's good. That is good translucency for the ears. Alright, our SSS color is blue. So now I'm going to tell you to I want you to absorb the blue and the red and just leave the green for the SSS. And now you can see the tone. See the way it's changed the tone here of the colors. It's an absolutely amazing tone. You can get a variation. So you can see there's so much you can do. You can spend hours on this practically, getting the exact color you wish to do so. And it's just so much you can do. It's just absolutely amazing. So once you understand how it works and once you start playing around, there's just a lot of variations you can do in terms of skin tone. And I didn't want 0.05, I think it was. So I wanted very little translucency there. Dome and scene, and there you go. So this is the color you can get, and you can see it's really cool. Obviously the lighting affects it. So this lighting that we're using is just a normal environment map lighting. It doesn't look that great. Obviously when you apply some proper lighting, it's going to look absolutely amazing. And we can start to see more features of our character. So that is how SSS works inside Daz Studio. How you can use a full range of colors inside Daz Studio to create any skin tone you wish to do, any variations, any color, and it's really, really powerful indeed. So once you understand this, you can do any skin color you wish to do so and get those fantasy skin colors without any level of difficulty. So I hope this tutorial's helped you with SSS subsurface scattering, how it works and the different color variations. You can have the multitude of color variations you can have. Don't forget to leave a comment down below as well. Let me know what you thought of this video, what you liked, what you didn't like. And don't forget to hit that like button as well. And don't forget to subscribe as well. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more cool videos like this that are going to help you on your journey. Don't forget to check out these videos here on the right as well. They're going to help you out with your skills in Daz Studio. And I'll see you in next week's video.